Welcome back, everybody. Tyson Brando here with Remax Escarpment, the Brando Group.
And I'm Tanya Di Nicola Antonio.
Today, we are going to talk about something that many people who are either looking to get into their first place or potentially are looking to downsize would need to know about, and that is
Condominiums. I've been thinking about condos a lot for the past week because it seems like I've had a few buyers looking into condos, but the variety among them surprised me. There's so many options for condos. Condo living is not for everybody. Definitely it's for a very specific type of buyer. Sometimes it's just because they're on a budget.
true, and that's why it's so popular amongst people who are looking to get in as their first home. Hamilton is becoming more and more populated with condos. Last time I checked, there was about 18,000 new condo projects, new units going into Hamilton that are already have received permits for and are going to be built in the next couple of years. So condos are going to be very popular, especially with the price of housing. Freehold homes, detached homes are in a completely different price bracket. So condos are something that many people are focusing on.
And when you think of a condo, the stereotypical condo is an apartment building where you buy an apartment. That's where many people's minds go. But the reality is that condos can be so many different things. Some of them are pure luxury. And the reason that people buy them is because they want the feeling of having a very luxurious home without the maintenance on the exterior. They don't want to have to worry about anything. They want to live that comfortable, very high-end lifestyle, but without having to do too much work.
And it provides a lot of freedom in a lot of ways. So if you are the type of person who want to go down to Florida or sunny Mexico for 6 months, you can just leave and know that the snow and everything is all taken care of for you. It provides a flexible lifestyle.
Definitely. So I thought it would be a good idea to break down a couple of key points about buying a condo that people should be aware of before they make that decision. The first thing that I wanted to mention is the different types of condos. So it goes from very small of an element in the building or the condo that you're living in, a road fee. And in Hamilton and Burlington, I feel like they're getting more and more common. The developers are building these condo developments, and all they're doing is turning the common areas, the roads, the driveways, the lawns sometimes, into a common elements condo. You own the house, and everything about the house is your responsibility, but the road is a private road, and sometimes the maintenance of the lawns and the gardens, that will be looked after.
This is called a POTL, parcel of tied land. So this is when you have the private road. So a developer has, say, a piece of 10 acres off of, say, 123 Main Street, and they build into this area. They have to create these roads, and they're not owned by the city. So a condo corp is set up, and a fee is charged to all the owners to cover things like snow removal, lawn maintenance of common areas, but the buildings are freehold still.
And the other thing that's covered by that kind of thing is streetlights or signage of any kind that goes on those roads. I will tell a little story from when I was in property management that I learned as we went through something. They also tend to have private garbage collection. So when you're on a municipal road, the city covers your garbage collection. And one year in Toronto, there was a garbage strike. And the only people getting their garbage picked up were the people on the private roads who had contracted privately to have that done. It turned out to be a perk, right? Even though you pay for it monthly. So that's something to think about. The little road fee tends to be a lot lower than other condo fees.
So if you have, for example, your traditional condo subdivision, condo complex, say that are townhouses, we're seeing the average fees for those to be anywhere between, say, $350 to $500, $600.
I saw one yesterday that was $675.
And these are still townhouses. They're not boxes in the sky, but yet the fees are still there. Whereas a parcel of tied land, where it's freehold, condo road, we see fees in the 90 to 120-ish range. So the fees are very different, but also what is covered is also different as well.
So in a traditional condo townhouse, we won't talk about apartment buildings just yet, but in a traditional condo townhouse where the fees will be a little bit higher, $350 to you name it, it can go up over $1,000 in an older.
Depending on what's included, especially some older, like for seniors, there's a couple in Hamilton up on the mountain that are geared towards seniors, and they have all kinds of amenities, tons, but the fees go along with that.
Yeah, the fees reflect it. But in a case like that, The roof, the windows, the doors, the garage door, the exterior brick or cladding of whatever kind you have, all of that is taken care of by the condo. The advantage I see to that kind of living, if somebody really wants hands-off maintenance free, obviously that's taken care of. But the other advantage is if you own a townhouse, you are physically attached to the neighbor next door. If your roof, for instance, needs to be replaced and your neighbor does not agree that the roof needs to be replaced, it's really tough to replace just one townhouse roof because they're physically joined. So the condo concept works in a case like that.
And you'll see it in freeholds, but oftentimes I've seen it where the uniformity of the complex starts to go downhill because there are less rules. So one person's got a new roof, one person's got an old roof, but there's also less rules about color of the garage door, color of your front door, certain things where a condo complex where all the exterior is covered, you have this really nice uniformity. Everybody has the same color roof, it's all done at the same time, and it looks better overall.
When it's well managed, it contributes to curb appeal, which helps the value of the property. So that's one thing. The other thing, when you talk about an apartment building, is that the common areas tend to be more expensive. In an apartment building, you'll find that the fees tend to be higher than, for instance, in a townhouse condo complex because the common areas are more expensive to maintain. In an apartment building, you'll find, for instance, an underground parking garage. That's a big item to maintain, and if you're going to maintain it and keep it up, the expenses will mount quickly. Elevators. Those can be costly, but you don't want them failing. So.
And there's regular maintenance has to be complied with, right? Which you're glad for that.
You want that done.
Yeah.
There might be a swimming pool, and that's huge maintenance fees compared to no swimming pool. So the apartment buildings offer certain luxuries that maybe you won't get in a townhouse complex, but you can expect those fees to be higher.
And they've definitely creeped up in recent years, just as everything else has. I remember not too long ago, there was always an equation for condo fees in a building. They would always go based on per square foot, which makes sense, and they still do, but the fees used to be around 38 to 40 cents per square foot. And that would obviously depend. Sometimes utilities are on top, sometimes some things are included, but in new builds, that was roughly, but now we're starting to see like 50 cents per square foot. So a brand new 800 square foot, you're over $400 just for your monthly fee to begin with. And this is where you start getting into, when you're buying that new condo, making sure that the fees that the builder is telling you is accurate, or that it was well thought out, because we've seen it where they've underestimated. I have a client right now who, when she bought the unit, was very attractive, the fees. And next thing you know, the condo board, when they got together after a year of ownership, they realized we don't have enough money and had to raise the fees for everybody. So that's one thing we were going to talk about, what you need to know as a potential condo owner.
So the age of the condo will determine in large part the questions you ask. Fair to say. For us, it's non-negotiable. When our clients buy condos, there's always a condition on a professional legal review of the status certificate on a resale condo. The status certificate gives you a picture of the financial health of the condominium, and it tells you whether they've been responsible in the way that they've been managing the money. The condo board manages the money for the common areas for everyone. So your fees go into a fund, and of that fund, some of it is put into reserve. The reserve fund is where they go to pay for expenses that come up for maintenance. If all the windows need to be replaced, you want to have a healthy reserve fund so that you can afford to replace all the windows. So when they manage the condo well, it's shown when you do a proper analysis of the status certificate. The lawyer can tell you, yes, they have enough money, they're managing this well, this is a good place to buy a condo.
And this is called a reserve fund study. A well-run condo board should be doing a third party, so it's not done by them. They hire a company to do this every few years to do a reserve fund study. And what they do for this is the company will come out and they will do an evaluation of the common elements. How far along is the roof? Is it going to need to be done in the next couple of years? Windows, everything. And then they look at what the condo corp has in the reserve fund, and they'll kind of give their expert opinion on whether or not there's enough money to cover those expenses while keeping the condo corp in good shape. And this is what you need your lawyer to review.
And based on their studies, if they're seeing a need coming up, something's going to be happening within the next so many years, they can estimate how much of an increase in condo fees they should be putting on everybody's tab so that they don't end up with what we call a special assessment. Special assessments are bad. They're good for the condo because they usually result in improvements, but financially for a temporary period, a special assessment is bad news because it devalues the market value of the condo. So if anyone is thinking of selling a condo where a special assessment is coming up, they're going to get less if they can sell it at all.
Depending on the amount and overall, because a special assessment not only will shed light on potentially one issue that was not properly prepared for, but also potentially others as well. Like I remember years ago in Burlington, there was, I think it was 4 or 5 buildings at the time that all of their balconies were faulty, and it just created this huge special assessment, and that building was problematic to sell for years. So all the people who bought in to that building, if you buy into a condo corp, condo building, you share in how good it does and also how bad it does as an owner.
And you have to trust the board that's managing the money. Now, a special assessment can be a few $1,000s for a balcony or any element really, but it can go up to any amount that's needed to maintain the building. I saw one yesterday, and it's a beautiful waterfront condo development. They own the waterfront. So there's a break wall on Lake Ontario, giant stones. It would have been a huge job to redo this break wall. Each owner in this condo complex who is on the water had to pay $100,000 toward that special assessment.
That's wild.
But what choice did they have? Because the erosion from the lake would have just destroyed the property. So these are things to think about. The financial health of a condo really matters when you're thinking about buying a resale condo.
And this leads many people to buy newer condos. I would say as an investor, somebody who is looking to purchase in the condo market, many people either like buying brand new or within the first 5 years and then selling that condo with maybe by like year 10.
As they start to need maintenance and they can feel the fees going up.
Exactly, because as we can see, there's all kinds of examples in the city of Hamilton, surrounding area, where because the value of your condo is directly tied to the fees that you pay. So as those fees start to creep up, so you say you buy the condo unit and it's got a fee of $250 or $300, great. And as a result, the price for that condo unit will be high because buyers are always taking into consideration condo fees. And even from a financial perspective, your mortgage broker, your bank is going to take those into consideration when they're approving you for the loan on that particular unit. Now, there's condos down on Green Road that have fees up in the $1,000 range, and the value of those units hasn't gone up that much in recent years because buyers are knowing that they're going to have to take on $1,000 per month condo fee. So just know that they kind of go hand in hand.
The condo fees matter. So when we have someone look at a status certificate, the status certificate tells us not only the financial health of the building, which is the most important thing, but it's a lot of paperwork. In there, you will also find the condo declaration. And that's something that's completely unique to condo living. The declaration is like the constitution of the condo, and they really do get to make their own rules about everything. It's completely different. For instance, in Ontario, it's illegal to have a tenant evicted because they have pets.
Yep.
Even if you had them agree to not bring pets into a rental unit, you cannot evict them for having a pet.
It's a violation of the Human Rights Code.
Pets are essential to life for a tenant, apparently, and you cannot deprive them, you cannot evict them. Those rules are not allowed in a freehold home. However, if a condo building decides that they have a strict no pets policy, if you rent a condo in that building, you cannot have pets no matter what other laws exist.
And if you are an owner in that condo building and you have a pet and you refuse to get rid of it, they can force you to sell your condo if you refuse to get rid of your pet.
Or if your tenant does. If you rent your unit out, your tenant does.
Well, anything your tenant does in your unit in a condo building that is a violation, you as the owner of that unit get passed the bill.
So no pets is an example of a rule that condos get to make. They really do fly by their own rules. We have one not far from here where if you decide to buy it as an investment property, you don't get to choose your own tenant. The property management office on site, which by the way, I really like this property management office. I think they do an excellent job, but I don't know a lot of investors who would agree to have a stranger choose the tenant who's going to live in their unit.
That's quite a different setup they have going on there, because it's like you can rent your unit, they'll take care of all of it, and then all the money gets pooled together from all the rental units that are in there and then evenly distributed amongst the owners of all those rental units, which is quite rare. I don't know too many like that.
I've never seen that before, and I'm sure it's not a model that's being built now. That building was built in the 70s, but it's another example of how condos really do their own thing. So when you're interested in buying a condo, if that's a lifestyle that appeals to you, remember to ask all those questions. And I'm going to put a little plug in for the good lawyers out there, because they can review the status certificate kind of half-heartedly and just say, yeah, money, sure, there's some money in reserve, and give you the green light to go ahead and buy that condo. What you really want is an experienced lawyer who does understand status certificates and who will tell you if there's something in there that needs further investigation. They might actually recommend that you bring the status certificate to an accountant if they're not sure. If it's something looks a little unusual, the good lawyer will tell you this is over my head and you need a little more investigation. So don't satisfy yourself with a cheap lawyer when you're reviewing a status certificate, and I think this becomes more important the older the building is.
And it's really not that big of a fee. Even the most experienced lawyers to review a status certificate, it's not a lot of money, especially when you consider what kind of situation you could end up in. Like, a home inspection at the same time is going to alert you to any potential big problems with a property. It's kind of the same way with a status certificate, because realistically, many people we know forego a home inspection in a condo because there's not a lot going on, especially if it's only a couple of years old. But if there's anything you do not forego when you buy a condo, is the status certificate.
Even the inspection though, I had a client a couple of years ago walk away from a conditional purchase on a fairly new condo building because it turned out the underground parking garage was leaking. And even though this thing was still under builder warranty, there was an argument going on with the builder. The inspection is actually still not a terrible idea.
No, it still gives you some peace of mind, for sure. So lots to think about when it comes to buying a condo. They can be great stepping stones for many people, or they can be great when you're looking to downsize. Not usually great for families who need a lot of space, and that's where people usually maybe start in a condo, move to a freehold, and then maybe move back to a condo later on. But it's also a lifestyle too. They tend to be in areas that are busier. They tend to be located more downtown, central core. If that's what you're looking for, then that's where you're gonna find the best ones.
It can be the best decision you ever made. It's just a matter of asking the right questions and getting satisfying answers.
So that's all we have about condos
for today. If you have any other questions though, we'd love to hear them, because if we've left anything out, it's probably important to you. So let us know.
And if you have any experiences as well, any other comments about it, you can always leave them in the comment section below.